This video is about expanding the world in your Chronicle. My second attempt at doing this is the first time the sound glitched, but this is primarily aimed at troop games, I suppose, because organizational games already kind of have this effect because of all of the Chronicles that are out there, especially if they communicate well. So, okay. What does it mean? Well, usually when you're in a troop game, you're isolated to your Bawn and your one set. So the pack, the set become everything. However, that tends to stagnate things. Players tend to get a very isolated feeling. Um, if you only have one or two of a tribe, they kind of feel isolated, left out. Sometimes they feel like there's no consequences to their actions, and they don't need to feel that. They need to feel something else. Plus, once you start getting some of the higher ranks, they always have to remember the old saying that no matter how badass you are, there's always somebody bigger and badder out there. The Guru need to know that too. Because I don't care if you're an Athro, there's always going to be an Elder that's going to kick your ass. If you're an Elder, there's always going to be a Legend that's going to kick your ass. If you're a Legend, you shouldn't be playing the game right anymore. You should be retired. Because, frankly, what's the point at that point? You're not going to have a pack full of Legends. You're going to have one single Legend, and that's not what LARP is about. Live action role playing is really about group dynamics and group play. So, you got to kind of start extending it in stages. Okay, so you actually know what what's on your Bawn, and you know the intricacies of your sept. Well, my first question is it legitimate at this point? Because you got to remember something. According to the canon books, roughly there are 10 kinfolk out there for every Guru. That means if you are running a game of 15 Guru, you should probably have about 150 kinfolk in the general area. Even if you're playing worst case scenario, you should have anywhere from 50 to 75 at the least. That's a lot of NPCs to start handling. So you should have a rough idea on where they're at. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have them all fleshed out. A lot of times you don't even need to have a full sheet on them. We have an index card box that we have, people's name, tribe, and just some general, really base characteristics, and maybe one or two tidbits like quirks or things that they're valuable for they might know. So you got to kind of start extending out. So you should go. I mean, it depends on where you're. First off, where's your cairn located? A lot of troops play in cities, which I think that's more oriented toward vampire or glass walkers, maybe bonars, but a lot play in that. Okay, so you should have your city fleshed out. You should know who your leeches are, who's running everything else. Who the big time lawyers are in town, who the politicians are, the sheriff, all that crap. Okay, but if you're not, and you're playing in the true werewolf genre, which means you're actually out in the wilderness somewhere, such as my Chronicle plays in the middle of a freaking swamp, is where our characters are based out of, you should start fleshing out what's around there. Okay, after you get outside the Bawn, what's on the fringes, the nearest villages, towns, cities. You should have some general characteristics of them. You should at least know what kinfolk are there, what other protagonists might be there. Are there any NPC Guru there? Antagonists. If you have cities, you should know what leeches are there. You need to know if there's any mage nearby. You need to know if there's going to be some Fomori. Because you never know when your players are going to turn around and say, hey, we're going to go over to Town X to clear it out, and you haven't used Town X in your game for a year. You could be the kind of storytelling staff that's going to basically say, no, you can't because we're not prepared for that. Or you're going to be the kind of staff that actually, you're rock stars because you're going to go, let's do it. And you're going to actually have enough of a framework that you're going to be able to run a good storyline, or at least a good one-shot session that is going to keep the players entertained and be rich and fulfilling for them. So you start like that, and then you might even extend out even further. You should know some of the key things, especially if you know your players are going to be messing with it. If there's an Indian reservation anywhere within distance, know some of the basics, because you're going to inevitably get that Octane or that Wendigo that's going to want to go there, and they're going to want to talk to these people. You should also know where some of your key NPCs are, because players are going to, if they get pissed off at each other, they're going to look for NPCs that teach them stuff. They're going to look for NPCs for favors. They're going to look for NPCs for support. I mean, if a Silver Fang is the last person there and they want to challenge for the last Silver Fang on your sept and they're challenging for, say, Athro, and their only choices are a Shadow Lord and a Bone Gnar that they can challenge, they're going to want to go off sept. They're going to want to go to a Silver Fang sept, or at least someplace where a Silver Fang dominates, find an Athro there, and they're going to want to challenge them. As a staff, you should have those available to them. Now, as I said, this is mainly towards the troop games. It puts a little more work on a storytelling staff for a troop game because you should have a little bit more of your wide world developed. In an organizational game, well, you just point them at other chronicles because inevitably there's going to be somebody at another chronicle they can talk to. And a lot of the organizations out there, they have like tribal boards and tribal forums where you can, if I'm playing a Fianna, I can go there and say, hey, does anybody know an Adrian Galliard Fianna that I can challenge? And they're going to point me and say, hey, you need to talk to this game over here or this game over here. So I'm going to be contacting those septs. It's always going to be thought of that I'm sending a messenger spirit or I'm sending a silent strider with messages to them saying, hey, I need help. If it's Glasswalk, maybe making a freaking phone call or, a Facebook message. This gives a lot of benefit. Number one, by fleshing it out, you're prepared as a storytelling staff for those instances where the players are going to go off the beaten path. It also gives a lot more variety for the players. So when you have a mystery going on or they're trying to figure out how to solve something, they're going to dip into the repertoire and say, hey, last time I was over in this town, there's a guy there who can help us. Or maybe we go over this city because I know of a facility that can run those scientific procedures for us. Any one of those things are going to be valuable. And it gives the players that general feel. Plus, it does bring in cause and effect and consequences for your actions. If a Shadow Lord murders a Silver Fang and gets caught for it, and let's say there's enough Shadow Lords on sept that it's going to be difficult to bring that person down very easily, then who's to say that the remaining Silver Fangs aren't going to call for support? And if a prominent Silver Fang's been murdered, support's going to come. There might be an NPC investigator that you need to bring in. It's like playing Vampire when you bring in the Archons. Same damn thing. You got to have it. You got to have those players realize if you break from tradition, you break off the beaten path, there can be consequences. And for Shadow Lord specifically, I mean, what's one of Grandfather Thunder's greatest tenets? Get the job done. He doesn't care how. Just don't get caught. If you stray from the path of honor and the path of the rules. So if you've gotten caught, the Shadow Lord should be expecting the consequences for their actions. I mean, the worst thing I've ever heard was when a Shadow Lord basically sat there and said, "You're my Shadow. You're the tribal alpha. You're supposed to protect me, even though I fucked up and got caught." What the hell is that? That's garbage, and that Shadow Lord, frankly, should end up with a blade in his back. Fortunately, still alive, but that we'll see what they're going to do about that. That's a recent development in my Chronicle. It also expands out the social dynamics of the game. If they're chasing a particularly vile enemy, and they realize they're going into another protectorate, perhaps, or another sept spawn area to pursue this son of a bitch, they're going to realize they're going to have to follow procedures and they're going to have to contact these people. Otherwise, they're going to end up facing combat with other Guru because they're going to be the transgressors and the violators. And as much as we play the good guys in Werewolf, we don't like each other. There's a lot of antipathy. There's a lot of anger because, well, frankly, we're creatures of rage. We're creatures of territory. Others come into our territory. We don't necessarily look at them and go, "Oh, you're a hero too. Why are you fucking here? And we're going to whip your ass or we're going to throat you." God forbid you go into Red Talon territory unannounced. Kill first, ask questions later. That's the motto. So, other benefits. Well, much like the organizations do, like even right now, there's a midwinter gaming convention up in the Midwest, I believe, and it's drawing a number of the organizations, and they're throwing events. I mean, they're throwing big games where everybody's coming together. Sometimes they throw constellations. Just depends on who's hosting and who's running. This can be very valuable, especially for the organizations. Troop wise, it would be very. I mean, I think brings people together. Because even if you have one or two games that are just in some way tied to you in a shared universe, it does enrich your game, especially if your players start communicating back and forth, even if it's just a little bit. I don't think there's many troops out there that actually host event games. My Chronicle does. We're actually going on our 5th anniversary of our Romp in the Swamp event, which we do anywhere between March and May. That's our 5th one coming up, and it's usually a fun time, big draw. We make room for other gamers or other players coming in for one shot, and it enriches everything. And we have a lot of people who they stick around and they play the same characters when they come in. They might only come in once a year, but they enjoy it, and our players enjoy hosting them. They have a blast. So, on a side note, if you want information on that, and if you think you can make it down to Florida for, I think it's beginning of May this year, this upcoming year is when we're doing it, contact me and I'll hook you up and tell you how to get registered and everything. Because our registration is opening here, and we're only keeping it open through, I believe, March, or for at least the pre-reg. After that, the prices go up because we got to be able to afford, because we got to do all our pre-shopping and such. Okay, I'm getting off the track. Yeah, so event games are fun and such too, but eh, that's a whole side note unto itself, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people just like being in their little closed groups. The only other thing it really does is, I mean, I said it opens up a variety for the players, but it does open up other stuff, like for private storylines. If a player decides it's time to mate and they want to look for a mate, if they have a rough idea where some of the kinfolk are, they're going to know where to go, or they're going to say, hey, I want to contact that specific kinfolk that I've talked to before, and I want to see if I can set something up. Or I want to, I'm going to see, is there somebody I can challenge for the right to court that person? It gives the players more variety. It makes the world richer for them, and therefore makes the gameplay experience richer for them. And a good storytelling staff, even though that they have to go through the hassle of it, a lot of them feel like it makes it a richer environment and a richer game for them as well. So that's why I think you need to expand the world of your Chronicle. Just my opinion. If you agree or disagree, post in the comments. Let me know. Peace out. Have a good day, man.